This is devastating. Some big news coming out of the Bucs after the Jets game where we came out with a win, but once again at the cost of one of our star players. We have an update about his injury and how long he'll be out and what the Buccaneers are going to need to do in the meantime to make up for said injury. I'm Sebastian from Buccaneers Digest. Welcome back, everybody. Another kind of not so great video, not so fun video to make, but it is important. It is important to talk about these updates and just everything going on with the Buccaneers. And it's a big one because, I think we all know what we're going to be talking about here. But remember to subscribe. You know, it's easy. Hit the button, join Bucs Digest. Let's jump into this thing, guys. Pretty simple. Mike Evans, Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Evans, expected to miss multiple weeks with injured hamstring, and then Ian Rappaport had to expand on it, saying Mike Evans, who left Sunday's dramatic win with a hamstring injury, had an MRI that revealed he's out multiple weeks per insiders, but it's not as bad as last year when he missed 4 weeks, so that's solid news. All right, so not the most fun thing to hear. That's just, plain and simple. You don't want to miss your Hall of Fame All-Pro wide receiver for any time, especially when he is trying to break an all-time record for the most consecutive 1,000-yard seasons ever. It's definitely a step back. It's definitely something. You could see the frustration from Mike when he went down with the hamstring injury. He knocked over a cooler. Just a lot of frustration from him. He knows that this is the season that could be his last, could be all these things. I know we don't want to put that necessarily out into the universe, but he's been hinting at it. It seems like there's a possibility that that's on the horizon, and he wants this to be the season that, one, he goes out on top, he gets another Super Bowl ring, but also, he breaks the record. That's he has talked multiple times that he is interested in creating history, making history. He's tied history, but he wants to make history as well by breaking the 1,000-yard record. And we're all rooting for him. It's one of our favorite parts of being Bucs fans is stressing about the 1,000 yards and kind of watching him break it every single year has been really exciting. So we're all hoping that he can come back soon. The idea with the timetable right now, they said 3 to 4 weeks. I've seen some people say 2 to 3. Sounds like 3 is kind of like the middle ground there. My idea would be that, since his last injury from last year, I think it was 4 weeks. It took him out of 3 games. That if this is the range that they're saying, it's not as bad as last year's injury, because I think there was a bye week that we went into as well. That my guess is that he'll miss 2 games, which would be the Eagles game and then the Seahawks game, and then with a chance to come back in week 6. Hopefully, that's the goal at this point. And I'm sure Mike, doesn't want to be off the field for too long. But this is, there is the important thing to remember that we have Chris Godwin hopefully on the return, Tristan Wirfs on the return, possibly as soon as this upcoming game. So, this is what it means to have a really good depth at the wide receiver room, where we have a lot of older guys who are obviously amazing players, but they're a little bit more prone to injury. And then we also have, younger guys to kind of pick up, the slack. Of course, Jalen McMillan not available until much later into the season after the bye week because of the injury that he sustained in week 2 of the preseason. So that's another hit to the depth. But Godwin's hopefully coming back, so hopefully we'll have CG and Emeka for the Eagles game. We're going to need both of them. We're going to need Todd to step up because he hasn't been getting a ton of targets. But that's kind of where things are. Fortunately, though, as people have been saying, it's not as bad as last year's hamstring injury. It's a mild strain, but not a severe strain. So, there's always some, good news to look at with these things. And then, so Scott Reynolds from Pewter Report had to say, the good news is that the MRI showed that Evans' injured hamstring isn't as severe as it was last year when he had to miss 3 games due to a hamstring tear. There's a chance that Evans could return to action versus San Francisco in Week 6 after missing games against the Eagles and Seahawks over the next 2 weeks, kind of what we just discussed there. And then Scott went to continue by saying, it's unknown whether or not Tampa Bay will have Godwin at their disposal on Sunday against the Eagles. Egbuka and Sterling Shepard could be the starters for the Bucs, with Ryan Miller and Tez Johnson providing some depth for Mayfield at receiver. Egbuka, the team's first-round pick, is the leading receiver with 14 catches for 181 yards and a team-high 3 touchdowns. Shepard has 11 catches for 153 yards this season. So those two have been really, really just fantastic for us. And Mike and Godwin, they've been franchise staples for us for a long time. They've been so reliable. But it is good at this point, with them being as iconic of a duo and how great they've been for us over all the years, that we have these extra guys now that, we've just, really been developing our receivers well. We've been drafting really well. We've kind of become the wide receiver team, which is really, really exciting. And, Godwin has been mentoring all the guys while he's been out and not able to practice. But now he is practicing, and we are hoping that, maybe he has a chance to really come back and, we can play the defending champs. We can play the Eagles. And, we want to give them something to not have tape on, to not be prepared for, and that's Chris Godwin. So, Mike, you never want to see him go out. He had a touchdown against the Jets. He was playing, really well. He was making some big catches on third downs, making some first downs. But it's just one of these things. This is a lingering problem for Mike. He's had a lot of hamstring problems, and it's your body doesn't necessarily have these injuries go away as you get older. They tend to spring up a little bit more often, as we all know. So it's Mike's really working on figuring out a way to sustain his career. He takes care of his body. He learned from Brady on how to take care of his body. But this is just an issue that he's been facing in his career, the hamstring in particular. And, the frustration was real and palpable. We all saw it on TV, and, myself in the stadium, I saw it. So it's just a matter of, I believe he'll be able to bounce back and be his normal self. They're being precautious because we have the depth. But it's not as severe as it was last year. And we all saw him come back after the severe hamstring injury last year and put on a show, which was really, really exciting, and, eventually ended in the last play of the regular season being him breaking that 1,000-yard record. I believe that, since he'll likely be missing only 2 games, I guess there's a possibility for 3, but hopefully it's only 2, that it won't be as much of a problem for the Buccaneers and a problem for Evans and his record. In the end, he is someone who's much more concerned with winning and doing what's best for the team than, his own personal records. But that's always in the back of his head. It's the back of all the Bucs fans' heads. Some of us would even prefer to get the record than, win games. But that's not really how it should be. That's not fair to all the other players who are playing and working really hard to get these wins and do well for the Buccaneers. So, in the end, it's disappointing news, needless to say. But again, shout out to Jason Licht for having the foresight to draft Emeka Egbuka, who's been obviously just tearing up the league so far, is the leading player for Offensive Rookie of the Year and all the odds and all that stuff. So that's just all really exciting to look forward to, and I believe that once again he will come up clutch when we need him when it comes time against the Eagles. But I do want to ask you guys, how do you feel about this Mike Evans injury? Do you feel like this might be Mike's last season? Do you expect him to come back week 6, week 7? Oh my gosh, the 6-7 jokes, they just don't stop. But that's actually a realistic timetable for Mike Evans in this sense. But we all believe he'll hit the 1,000-yard record. You tell me down below whether you believe and whether whether your faith is shaken in the Buccaneers because of this injury news, or are you kind of relieved because it's not as bad as it could have been, like it was last year, even worse than last year. It's just a mild hamstring injury rather than a severe one. There wasn't a tear as far as we know, or at least a bad one. But yeah, question is for you guys. Let me know what you think about the Buccaneers, and their wide receiver situation. Do you think that we'll have the offensive firepower to take on the Eagles? We still have a running back room. We were hoping to get Tristan Wirfs back as well. Josh Gazard's been play calling really, really well. We have a lot of things still working for us, a lot of things to be optimistic about. So I'm optimistic, but I want to hear from you guys what you think. Subscribe, comment down below, and we'll see you for the next update as we go along this week to get ready for the Eagles.